Hi there, thanks for tuning in. My name is Angela. I hope you're keeping well. So in previous videos, I have shared about fasting, the impact fasting has on cancer cell. I've also shared fasting window, intermittent fasting window you can use, and drinks you can use during your fasting window, so you don't give up on fasting because you're tired or famished, and you prolong your fast to your feeding window. And I did say I would share a video on foods that you can eat during your feeding window. And the way I look at this is, when you're fasting, you weaken the cancer cells. And then when you break your fast, if you also eat foods that further fight cancer or weaken or cause cancer death, then you are getting a very good outcome out of your fasting period. And of course, way beyond your fasting time as a lifestyle, not just once in a while. I speak from my personal experience going through stage 3 cancer, but what I quickly realized was the role food plays on our health and cancer cells, and I started to research in that area and support what the doctors were doing with the food I was eating and lifestyle. So the first sets of food I would talk about are the cruciferous vegetables. A lot of research has been done in this area, Institute of Cancer, Harvard Medical College, Mayo Clinic, a lot of work out there pointing to the same fact that these cruciferous vegetables have substance that actually inhibit cancer cells, that stops them from growing and also cause cell death. So this is really important, because if we're looking at protecting ourselves or even fighting the disease, these vegetables can help. In that family are pak chor, which I've talked about, I've shared a video on that, has over 70 antioxidants. And cauliflower as well is in that family. Broccoli is in that family. Kale is in this family as well. Cabbage is in this family. What I say about cabbage is, any food that has purple color, the purple is best. It's better than the white. So cabbage has purple and white. Go for the purple cabbage. It's more potent to cancer cells than the white cabbage. So there's also purple broccoli, like that one, that's a bit purple, and that's sprouting broccoli. That is about 18% more powerful than the actual broccoli, matured broccoli. And also the sprouts, like when you plant the broccoli, as it starts to grow, those sprouts have over 30% more strength in fighting cancer cells than these. So go for the sprout. Sprout of anything is good. So the other sets of vegetables that belong to this family are horseradish, collard green, wasabi, watercress, kale. We've talked about broccoli, and we've talked about pak chor, arugula. Arugula is also rocket salad, so that's another name for rocket salad. So these are all in the cruciferous vegetable family. So what I'll say about most of these, like the broccoli, is always make sure you eat as much of the stem as possible, because this has more in nutrient than the actual floret. As well, when you cook your vegetables, don't cook them, steam them gently or saute gently, or just add boiling water to them after washing. Let it sit for a few minutes and then just scoop them out and they're ready. So those are the cruciferous vegetables. Long list, but those are some of the ones that I use mostly. And so if you live in Africa, for example, cabbage is on this list. Use cabbage a lot. It has a lot of benefit. So let's talk whole grain. We all need some sort of carbs every day. That's what gives us energy. However, just going through this process, especially if someone is fighting cancer, I would say cut down on carbohydrates if you can. Just reduce it, because that breaks down to sugar, which the cancer cells feed on. So, but for me, when I was having treatment, one of my main staple was fermented cassava. So I would have that with bitter leaf soup. when foods ferment, the sugar in it, the carbohydrate in it is broken down by the bacteria, and it ends up with good bacteria that is good for your gut. So fermented foods have less carbohydrate and are very good for your gut. So think about foods that you can, any food that is fermented that you can add to your diet as well. It is a very good habit to have. So in terms of rice, I love my rice, but I've cut down on it. When I do eat rice, I eat the ofada rice. So this is what we call ofada rice in Nigeria. It still has its fiber, because the processed rice, what they do is polish it and take the fiber out. The fiber is the best part of the rice. So I don't know, it's for cosmetic reason, but that's costing us our health. Some people say this smells bad. I just think of the benefit and I love it. So that's ofada rice. I don't impose all my diet on my family. For this, I cook a different pot. They prefer the polished one. Hopefully someday they'll come to join my camp, but for now we cook separate pots of rice. But this is the ofada rice. This is available in Nigeria. You can find it in shops, Asian shops here as well. I think the brown rice falls in that category. I've never really taken on the brown rice because I have this one and I know its origin as well. It's not processed. It's directly from the farmers. So that's rice. You can also incorporate quinoa. Yeah. So quinoa, it's also good, and one of the whole grain that is packed with protein. So you can add this to your salad or as your staple when you make your meals. Quinoa. And whole grain brown barley as well. Whole grain brown barley, very good. It's actually like rice when you boil it. It reminds me a lot of ofada rice, and very packed with nutrient as well. Good for you and less carb. A lot of fiber, and we need all the fiber we can get. So those are some of the examples that I use as my carbs, my whole grain. Just make sure it's whole grain and where you can, organic. And I get the quinoa and barley from the health shop. So if you're in Africa, you can use the ofada rice, fermented gari. Also, fufu, fermented cassava, is also a staple you can use. So just talking about ferments, let me go into the next set of foods, which is fermented foods. So in Africa, we have tapioca, fermented cassava, that we eat with coconut. Coconut also is very good for us. Coconut oil is good. And we also have the fufu. We soak the cassava and it ferments, and then all of that fermentation process breaks down the carbohydrate in those foods, and they are good for our gut bacteria, really. I know that smells bad, the smell of it, because of the fermentation, but any fermented food is good for your gut. You can't go wrong. So over here, what we have is sauerkraut. So sauerkraut is fermented cabbage, and cabbage is one of the cruciferous vegetables. But when it's fermented, this is super for boosting your immunity. Has a lot of benefit. I won't even go into the list now. I'm actually in the process of making one. I'll share that video when I'm done. So very good for your gut as well. And you can add it to just a scoop of a tablespoon to side of your meal. It garnishes it and gives it a good food. You don't need to cook it, just add it to your meal. Apple cider vinegar, if you watch my videos, you know I'm a big fan, and I make mine. So I have that's like 3 days old in process. So I make mine and I also buy, and it's good to incorporate this in your fasting window, especially because it keeps you going, doesn't make you feel hungry. And the most important use is just before you break your fast. If you have a tablespoon in water, you see that you're not hungry, so you're not reaching out for the first thing you see because you're starving. It just keeps you going and regulates your blood sugar, because what you don't want to do when you break your fast, don't go for the high carbs food, because what will happen is your insulin will spike up. So if you're fasting and you just eat the pizza, the bread, the sugar, the Coke and all of that, your insulin will just go from here to here, and that's not good, because even when you go back to your fasting window, it will take hours. So you're fasting from 6, maybe until 10, 11, 12 midnight, your insulin is still finding its way down because you spiked it up so high. So even though you have stopped eating at 6, you probably haven't started fasting because that insulin needs to go way down before you go into your fasting and then to autophagy. So if you maintain and regulate your blood sugar with the foods you eat, low carbs food, then your insulin is sort of there, and then when you go into fasting, it just drops naturally and blends into your fasting window, and you go into fasting quicker and get more benefit out of your fasting. So this helps a lot. Yeah, so that's apple cider vinegar. Kimchi is another one that is very good fermented food. In Africa we have yogurt is good as well, but I go for the natural no sugar yogurt. It's good for our guts, that's why we have yogurt. So foods with probiotic and prebiotics are very good for our gut, and our gut is where our immunity starts from, so we need to feed it food that helps. So from a cancer treatment point of view as well, when we're going through that treatment, the treatment wipes out the good gut bacteria, so you need to replace those bacteria, and these foods also help you replace the gut bacteria that are wiped out as a result of the chemotherapy or radiotherapy. So those are fermented foods. The next set of food I want to talk about are lentils. Lentils are very good to include in our diet, and I have a few here that I use. So you can saute these gently. Thanks Shagar for these. These are from my friend's garden, and they are good to add to your diet. They are packed with nutrients. In Africa we have the red beans, very good. The skin is packed with fiber, so do retain the skin. I know we tend to remove skin from black-eyed peas when we do bean pudding or akara, but that fiber we take out is really beneficial, the skin. So if you can, sometimes use the skin. And then we have bean sprout as well. Like I said earlier, bean sprouts are always the best for any plant. So they are packed. They have twice or more of the nutritional value of the finished product of the plant. So if you can find sprouts, sprouts as well. Like they say, variety is the spice of life. So I like variety. My friend was going back home and I asked her to bring something that I can't find here for me. And she brought these beans for me. And thanks Tapoa for this. This is from Zimbabwe. I don't know what it's called. So if you know what this is called, please leave the name in the comment section, because I'm not too sure what the name is. Tapo, I wasn't too sure either, the English name for it. So I should have asked for the Zimbabwean name actually. Anyway, if you know what it's called, please leave the name in the comment section. So next I want to talk about mushrooms. Mushrooms are very good immune boosters, one of the few sources of vitamin D, and vitamin D boosts our immune system. So any mushroom is good, packed with fiber, which our body needs, feeds our gut bacteria, and also does a lot of good in terms of fighting cancer. So if you can find a mushroom, that's fine. If you live in Africa though, do make sure the mushroom you're consuming is edible and is not the poisonous type. So that's a mushroom. There is a long list of foods we can use, but these are just some examples. So thank you and see you in my next.